Welcome back to another daily drop here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm THI publisher Andrew Jones, and the topic today is Carolina basketball. The Tar Heels have dropped 3 of their last 5 games after winning 10 straight. Before I dive into the deep end on this daily drop, just a quick reminder, head on over to our site, TarHeelIllustrated.com, and for just $8.33 a month, for a 1-year subscription, you can be a Tar Heel Insider too. We are cranking out the research with the numbers, digging into all kinds of stuff in between games, post-game coverage, and so much of it is premium. Although this past week I've made quite a few things free, giving people some samples of what we do. So if you haven't seen it, even though a couple of the games are now a little bit in the rearview mirror, go check it out. Get an idea of what we do. And one of the reasons why some of this stuff is premium content, but of course the message boards have been outstanding. The dialogue about the Tar Heels' struggles on the basketball court has really been outstanding. Really excellent stuff. I've enjoyed it. It's great to get people's perspective on how things have turned here in the last few weeks. So I want to know yours. Head on over there. Just $8.33 a month, guys. Same price it's been since I took over this site August 1st, 2014. Nobody else hasn't raised their price. Only us. Same price. So head on over there. Become a member of our growing and amazing community. All right. Carolina basketball. Tar Heels coming off a loss over at Syracuse the other night, 86-79. I was up there. I was also down in Miami for the narrow win, the escape over the Hurricanes. Carolina was up 12 with 7+ minutes left. Miami was down 2, had the ball, and had a chance to take the lead. And the Tar Heels survived that one. Lost at home to Clemson last week in a really unimpressive effort for much of that game, even though Carolina tied it at 70, and then 3 straight turnovers on possessions. Tigers get offensive rebounds and score. By the way, Syracuse the other night, Carolina had 4 turnovers after that thing got to 4 points, and they had the ball. Had a chance to cut it to 2 or even 1, even with how well Syracuse shot. The Duke game, aberration. They always are. To me, it's a sidebar to the season. Even though you could learn something from it, still a sidebar to the season. Georgia Tech game was when this all started. Tar Heels weren't great that night. Thought it was a one-off. It wasn't. Tar Heels need to get their mojo back. They had mojo through the win at home over Wake Forest. They had still had pretty good mojo after they won in Tallahassee. They weren't great that day, but they still did a lot of nice things. They went to Atlanta, and it's just one of those things that happened. That's what we called it. That's what I wrote about. That's what the players called it. They had that organic meeting in the locker room when they got back to Chapel Hill. The thing went to a little past 2 a.m. in the morning. They can't do that now. You cannot do that a second time. Lightning does not strike twice in the same place when you need it to. It just doesn't happen. So they have to find a way to regalvanize at this point. And I asked Harrison Ingram, I asked Armando and RJ Davis about it the other night after the game at Syracuse about what do you do now? How can you do this? And I thought Harrison had the most interesting response and probably most spot on one when he said, look, this is individual. We each have to have our own individual self meeting and get ourselves right. And if each one does that collectively, they will be right. Perhaps some of the messaging from Hubert needs to change. Hubert said he didn't think that they overlooked Syracuse. Maybe they did. Maybe they did. It was a 43-point swing from the first meeting. That's not good. It happens sometimes. Duke and Pitt had something similar earlier this season. But I think that the way the Tar Heels played at times, especially defensively, not with great juice, and you got to give credit to Syracuse. The Orange made tremendous plays. Judah Mintz was outstanding. J.J. Starling hit some ridiculous shots. They even got a couple threes from Malik Brown. Don't usually get that. But this isn't just Tuesday night. up at JMA Wireless Dome. This isn't just in Coral Gables when the Tar Heels were awful the last 8-9 minutes of the first half. And early there in the second half, they actually had a nice run, and then they were poor trying to close that thing out. This isn't just the awful start against Clemson last week, and it's not the poor way that they closed against Georgia Tech when they had opportunities to steal that game and were unable to do it. This is a bigger thing. 5 games is a trend, and I'm going to lump these 5 in there. The Duke win counts, so the aggregate matters. And here are some numbers I'm going to throw at you. They got to get that mojo from the 10-game win streak back. And what did that mojo produce versus the last 5 where the mojo really wasn't there? And it was for the Duke game, but the Tar Heels, let's be honest, they only beat Duke, what, by 9? There were moments in that game in the second half where, as a journalist watching the game and having seen these things so many times, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this team needs to step it up and extend this thing to 13, 14, 15 points, and they were unable to do that. So they didn't close as well the last 10 minutes against Duke as you would want to see if you're a Tar Heel fan, especially given the fact that during the 10-game win streak, they were outstanding closing teams out. So bear with me. I'm going to read you some stats, give you a little perspective here through these numbers, and give you an idea of what the mojo is. It's not just the wins, but there are things that you do to get those wins. For example, during the win streak, Carolina averaged 4.9 block shots a game. In the last 5, it's just 2.0. That's a big difference. During the streak, and this is a huge one, opponents shot 43.3% on layups. Now, layups aren't what you think it is when you're doing a warm-up in rec league basketball and there's nobody in front of you. You dribble 3 times, you shoot a layup. They're very challenged shots. If you're shooting over 50% on layups in college basketball, it's pretty good. 55, 56, 57% is pretty good. That's where you'd really need to be. Their opponents were 43.3% during the win streak. They're at 64.5% the last 5 games. Syracuse was 13 for 16. During the streak, the Tar Heels were plus 12.4 on the glass in rebounds. Now, in the last 5 games, they have out-rebounded each opponent, but Duke by 1, Clemson by 1, etc. The average in the last 5 games is plus 4.4. That's a drop off of 8 rebounds a game. That's 8 possessions. And the turnovers have picked up. So they're losing possession opportunities. They're losing scoring opportunities, and they're giving opponents more scoring opportunities, which is why the scoring for opponents is up as well. Also, the Tar Heels, this is an interesting stat, and I've been doing a lot of digging, and this is in a piece that we ran Thursday morning. At the 12-minute mark of the first half, that means the second TV timeout, the under 12-minute mark. At exactly the 12-minute mark, 8 minutes in, during the win streak, Carolina led by 6 points in those 10 games. That was the average. In the 5 games since, it's only been a plus 1.2 points with 12 minutes left in the half. That's an indication of how you start a game. First 8 minutes, how do you start? Well, they went from 6-point lead to a 1-point lead from the 10-game stretch to the last 5. That's a difference of 5 points. That's significant. During the streak, the Tar Heels shot 76.5% from the free throw line. The last 5, 69.6%. During the streak, defensively, Carolina held opponents to 36.5% from the floor. In the last 5 games, those opponents have shot 46.8%. That's a 10% difference. That's huge. During the streak, opponents shot 24.9% from three-point range. In the last 5 games, it's 35.5%. That's 11% difference. So what does MOJO do? MOJO is something that fuels positive play, better communication defensively, which the players have acknowledged has not been as good of late. That's when you don't rotate. and those layups that are being converted at a higher rate right now because they're less challenged, because the rotations aren't there. The drives aren't cut off as much. The lanes are a little bit easier. There were a couple times Tuesday night where Syracuse just wide open lanes to the rim. Easy peasy, man. Like shooting fish in a barrel. Is real easy. Some of those threes, uncontested. Some of them were contested and they were big time shots, but fewer things have been contested on the perimeter. The 3-point shooting, as I noted, has been better in the last 5 for opponents than it was during the 10-game win streak. MOJO gets you up on the glass. MOJO does so many things for you in basketball, and this team is missing it. They don't have it now. They need to get it back. They need to approach the Virginia Tech game like it's a mission. It's the only game they have to play. Whatever happens afterward, there is no season. Just approach the Virginia Tech game to get that mojo back. That black shot difference, that's mojo, man. Even the free throws. Get to the line, and if you're in the right mojo, the right frame of mind, the right disposition, you're going to shoot a higher percentage of your free throws. Now, you might chalk this up to the team being a little bit tired. Now, I'm going to address that in another daily drop on Friday. I'm going to talk about bench minutes. I'm going to talk about the starters being tired and some interesting things that I saw and heard after the game with the players on Tuesday night. That will be Friday's drop. I want to know what you guys think. If you haven't seen the piece that we ran today, it is a premium content item, so make sure you go over to THI, sign up, just $8.33 a month for a 1-year subscription, and there are a lot more of these numbers that are in there, and it's eye-popping. And sometimes you can make numbers do some pretty freaky things, right? These numbers don't lie. They are what they are. The Tar Heels have been struggling the last 5 games compared to the 10-game win streak. They need to steer this thing back toward where they were with the 10-game win streak. No other way around it. That's called mojo. They got to get the mojo back, and it begins Saturday with the Hokies. If you think the Tar Heels are going to get the mojo back beginning Saturday against the Hokies, go ahead and click like on this video. If you're confident that this is just a brief detour of the season and the Heels are going to get back on track, go ahead and click like. If you like the video, click like, and make sure you go over to our site, sign up, guys. Just $8.33 a month. That's literally like a drive-through meal now. So just go ahead, take the plunge, and let us know what you think. Go ahead and comment on Facebook, comment on Twitter, X, whatever you call it. I still call it Twitter, but I'm a boomer, so I'll call it Twitter probably for a long time. And also, if you're on our message boards, love to know what you think about the mojo and about these numbers. I'm AJ, and thanks for stopping by.